shall we call it, Do Domain? As Xiao Yan's calm voice echoed across the newly formed superdimension, the magma-filled world trembled almost imperceptibly, as though it was responding to the name Xiao Yan had bestowed upon it. Opposite him, Long Yuan and his companion exchanged a glance, their expressions filled with curiosity. Did you just say? You plan to convert all the Do Qi in this world into spiritual energy from the Great Thousand Worlds? Long Yuan asked Xiao Yan, his tone tinged with shock. He had never heard of a lower dimension utilizing spiritual energy for cultivation. Directly converting all the Do Qi into spiritual energy isn't feasible, Xiao Yan explained, his voice steady. The assimilation tribulations that would follow are far too challenging for most inhabitants of lower dimensions to endure. Xiao Yan understood this well. Although this world could now be considered a nearly complete version of the original Do Qi dimension, the expansion of space had elevated its dimensional constraints to a level comparable to Earth's supreme strength, far beyond the 9-star Do D stage. As dimensional constraints rose, the energy intensity within the dimension also increased. Still, even with these improvements, the Do Qi of this newborn world was considerably weaker than the spiritual energy of the Great Thousand Worlds. According to the principles of spatial constraints, the larger a dimension, the greater the force required to sustain it without collapse. Higher constraints demanded more power, which subsequently elevated the energy strength within that dimension. For instance, if the energy strength of a low-level lower dimension was rated at 100, a mid-level lower dimension might be 150, and a high-level lower dimension could reach nearly 300. A super lower dimension spanning millions of miles might have an energy strength exceeding 500, while the energy strength of the 10 super lower dimensions could approach 700. However, Xiao Yan, who had experienced both lower dimensional energy and the spiritual energy of the Great Thousand Worlds, knew that the latter's strength could surpass 2,000 in the same quantity of energy. Xiao Yan calculated that the energy strength of this newly assembled Do domain might not yet reach 700. During ancient times, complete Do Qi should have exceeded 700, but even then, when hundreds of Do D experts first entered the Great Thousand Worlds and were exposed to the assimilation of spiritual energy, over 100 of them were reduced to nothing. This demonstrated the vast gap between an energy strength of 700 and 2,000. For spiritual energy assimilation, the lower dimensional alliances are best equipped for the task. After this, you can consult with them for potential solutions, Long Yuan suggested. He clearly understood Xiao Yan's intent to enhance the overall strength of this newly born Do domain through spiritual energy assimilation. Among the lower dimensional alliances, the Dimensional Alliance is the most advanced in the study of spatial dimensions, Long Yuan added. I'll visit the Dimensional Alliance soon, Xiao Yan nodded. Shifting his gaze back to the newborn world around him, he continued, but first, we have another issue to address. Although I've relocated everyone to several safe worlds, I can't leave them living in such crowded conditions indefinitely. Can you restore this world into a habitable environment in a short time? Long Yuan asked, puzzled. There's a way, but first, I need to subdue that flame, Xiao Yan replied, his gaze fixed on the magma-filled world before him. That flame? Long Yuan echoed, clearly intrigued. During the integration of the fragmented worlds, I sensed its emergence. As this dimension expanded, it grew increasingly powerful, Xiao Yan explained. It must be the primordial flame from the Great Thousand Worlds 100 million flames ranking. The primordial flame? Long Yuan gasped, visibly shaken. As a heavenly supreme expert, he was well aware of its significance. In legend, this was a companion flame born alongside the Great Thousand Worlds. Its unparalleled power secured it the 4th spot on the 100 million flames ranking. Even upper heavenly supreme experts found it formidable. Unlike other heavenly flames that took millions of years to form through the accumulation of energy, the primordial flame was born alongside the world itself. However, its natural lifespan was extraordinarily short, lasting mere centuries or even less. Xiao Yan's revelation left Long Yuan stunned. Could it really be possible for a newly born Do domain to give rise to a primordial flame? If such a flame exists here, its principles should be similar to that of the Great Thousand Worlds primordial flame. However, in terms of power, it's likely far weaker, Xiao Yin noted. In my perception, it ranks within the top 40 on the 100 million flames ranking, with a natural lifespan of less than a decade. Does every world birth a flame of varying strength during its creation? Long Yuan mused aloud. Perhaps, Xiao Yin replied, his gaze locking onto the magma ocean below. If we want Do Domain to become a livable place in a few years, we'll need that primordial flame. How do you plan to subdue it? Long Yuan asked. Despite his abilities, he couldn't sense the flame's exact location. It's an anomaly among heavenly flames, and because it's still newly formed, it likely hasn't developed sentience yet. Subduing it might not be impossible, Xiao Yin said as he slowly drifted forward. Suspended in the air above the magma ocean, Xiao Yin closed his eyes. When they opened again, a brilliant flame sigil emerged from his brow. It was the heavenly flame summoning order from the Doqi world. Buzz. With the appearance of the sigil, an emperor-like aura swept across the entire dimension. The turbulent magma gradually calmed under its oppressive might. Xiao Yan's voice, filled with sovereign authority, echoed across the world. I am the emperor of 10,000 flames. By the summoning order, I command you to submit to me. You are a companion flame of this world. You belong with me. Reveal yourself. The trembling dimension quieted as Xiao Yan's commanding voice reverberated. Behind him, Long Yuan and his companion watched intently, eager to see whether the primordial flame would heed Xiao Yan's call. Then, after several moments of silence, a surge of intense heat erupted from the depths of the magma ocean. The ground quaked as a massive magma bubble rose from the sea. It swelled larger and larger until it detached and hovered in the air. A fiery sphere tens of thousands of feet in size. Xiao Yin studied the sphere with awe. Unlike other heavenly flames he had encountered, this one was a dense singularity of fire. As his senses probed deeper, he realized the closer he got to the core, the denser the energy became. At the very center, the density approached infinity, and the heat surpassed any flame he had ever encountered, even the imperial flames. This is the primordial flame, Xiao Yin murmured. A secret of world creation lay before him, a flame singularity capable of birthing dimensions. To subdue it, Xiao Yin summoned his most formidable power, the imperial flame. Forming a colossal fire lotus in the sky, he sent it hurtling toward the primordial flame. The clash of these two titanic forces sent shockwaves rippling through the dimension, carving a massive crater into the magma sea. But the primordial flame, though reduced in size, remained undeterred. Time is running out. This isn't self-detonation, it's an evaporation effect. When the ancient voice echoed in his mind, Xiao Yan's heart trembled. His gaze immediately swept across the surroundings, quickly dismissing the possibility that the voice came from Long Yuan or the Heavenly Emperor, as they clearly hadn't noticed. So, who exactly was speaking? Little brat, stop searching. I am in the great thousand worlds, billions of miles away from you. As Xiao Yin continued his search, the ancient voice resounded again in his mind. Great thousand worlds? Who are you? Upon hearing the voice, Xiao Yan's expression grew more serious. If what the voice claimed was true, the speaker must be terrifying indeed, able to communicate across billions of miles. Such a power, he thought, could even surpass that of an ordinary heavenly supreme. I am the one who can help you tame the fire in front of you. Of course, the term human is a definition you usually use. The voice spoke again in Xiao Yan's mind. To make you believe, you can ask me to do something for you, anything, and I will accomplish it. Xiao Yin fell silent. His gaze deepened as he seemed to be contemplating something. After a few moments, he pointed toward the gigantic magma bubble ahead and said, "Remove its outer shell, leaving only 100-meter diameter." Boom. As soon as Xiao Yan's words fell, the magma bubble in front exploded. His eyes widened in shock as, when the explosion settled, he saw that a large magma bubble still hovered above the pit, but it was no longer a magma bubble. It had transformed into a dense, dark red sphere, about 100 meters in diameter, only 1,000th of its original size. How is this possible? Xiao Yin gasped in disbelief as he stared at the dark red sphere. He had never expected his command to be fulfilled so instantly. Pay attention. Its evaporation rate has increased by 1,000 times. It now has roughly half a minute of life left. The ancient voice echoed in his mind. Half a minute? What's happening? Xiaoyan asked quickly, but then he realized what was happening. He immediately shot toward the dark red sphere, now only 100 meters across. If what the mysterious speaker said was true, the flame had only half a minute to live, and Xiaoyan had no time to question the situation. It seemed the speaker meant no harm, so he had to act fast. Help me tame it. Are there any conditions? Xiaoyan asked, appearing in front of the dark red sphere. Smart, but don't rush. Although it only has half a minute left, actually, it should be about 20 seconds. Take your time. After all, time is something I can alter. The ancient voice resonated in Xiaoyan's mind. After a brief pause, he noticed the energy around the sphere slowing down. The previously increasing evaporation rate had slowed down by thousands of times. I've slowed down its evaporation time. The next 10 seconds will feel like 3 days for you, the ancient voice explained. Xiaoyan was stunned. He couldn't imagine the kind of being who could modify the rules of time. He wanted to know more about the mysterious speaker. Taming this fire is much easier. According to the fire itself, the primordial flame from the Great Thousand Worlds was tamed in less than 1/10,000,000th of a second. The one who did this is someone called the Master, the ancient voice continued. Master? Xiaoyan froze at the mention of Master. From the description, this being called the Master seemed incredibly terrifying, capable of taming one of the top 4 flames of the Great Thousand Worlds in such an impossibly brief time. I don't know who the Master is, but you should tame this fire first, the voice urged. How do I do that? Xiaoyan asked. The core of this fire is only 10 meters in size. You need to dismantle its outer shell, then the core's temperature will be incredibly high, tens of thousands of times hotter than all your flames combined. But you must refine it, the ancient voice instructed. Tens of thousands of times hotter? Xiaoyan's expression changed. How could he refine such a high-temperature flame? Even with the flame mantra, the flame couldn't be absorbed into his body. Even if it could, all the meridians it passed through would be vaporized. Even the Supreme Sea might not be able to withstand it. Use your Supreme Dharmakaya to refine it. Your Dharmakaya is built from flames and magma, so you don't need to worry about it being destroyed, the ancient voice suggested. That seems like a feasible method, Xiaoyan thought to himself. But helping me like this probably comes with some conditions, right? Heh, little brat, I'll tell you after you refine the flame, the ancient voice responded. Although this is a bit sudden, I have to be upfront. If the conditions you propose are unacceptable, I might not agree, Xiaoyan said, though his heart was filled with concern. He had already realized just how terrifying the being speaking to him was. Could he refuse whatever conditions they set? More importantly, why would such a powerful being need his help? There was a contradiction in that. If you're someone with a sense of emotion and responsibility, you'll accept, the ancient voice replied. What do you mean? Xiaoyan frowned. Everything will become clear when you arrive there, the ancient voice answered. Its calm tone reverberated in Xiaoyan's heart. Right now, the most important thing is to refine this fire. That will be the best gift you can give it. Go ahead, the voice urged. As the ancient voice faded, Xiaoyan's eyes blazed with flame. An ancient flame symbol appeared between his brows. Boom! The magma ocean beneath Xiaoyan surged violently, with massive magma columns shooting into the sky. These columns intertwined in the sky and surged toward Xiaoyan. At the same time, an overwhelming imperial flame erupted from his body, intertwining with the magma, forming a colossal supreme Dharmakaya. The imperial flame body was imbued with destructive power, and being in the magma ocean made it nearly indestructible. In the distance, Long Yuan and the Heavenly Emperor were stunned as they watched Xiaoyan unleash his supreme Dharmakaya. They hadn't expected that taming the companion flame would require such an immense display of power. Boom! The vast imperial flame body marched through the magma ocean, facing the dark red sphere. Xiaoyan's palm erupted with surging imperial flame, forming an ancient ruler, imbued with destructive energy. With the ruler in hand, Xiao Yan's gaze sharpened, and he slammed it toward the dark red sphere. Eternal Destruction Ruler. The low voice echoed from Xiao Yan as the enormous ruler descended like a falling meteor, crashing into the dark red sphere. Boom! The collision created massive waves of flame, sweeping through 100,000 miles. The center of the explosion shattered the dark red sphere, leaving it only about 10 meters in size. However, Xiao Yan had underestimated the power of this companion flame. As he stared at the ruler in his hand, he saw that its upper half had been completely burned away in the attack. The ruler was made of powerful flames, yet it was suppressed by even stronger flames. This only piqued Xiao Yan's interest in the companion flame even more. If he could refine it, his own flames would rise to a whole new level. It's almost done. However, its evaporation speed has increased by several hundred times again. Even though I've slowed it down, it will still evaporate within 20 minutes, the ancient voice echoed in Xiao Yan's mind. Do you want me to slow it down further? I can extend the time to several days. No need, Xiao Yan replied. Using the Imperial Flame Body to refine the fire is something I haven't tried before, but it seems feasible. Such confidence? The ancient voice teased. Xiao Yan smiled. Confidence was something he had in abundance. Imperial Flame. Xiao Yan shouted. Whoosh! A dazzling, colorful super flame erupted from the Imperial Flame Body, engulfing the space and rapidly forming a colossal flame prison. The companion flame from the Do domain was trapped within it. Lock it down, Xiao Yan commanded. Buzz. The moment his command was given, the enormous flame prison began to shrink. In less than 10 breaths, it had compressed to about a dozen meters in size. The companion flame, lacking any intelligence, made no attempt to resist, making it the perfect opportunity for Xiao Yan. Let's begin. Standing before the now shrunken flame prison, Xiao Yan slowly raised his palm and placed it directly on the prison. If he had tried to grab the companion flame directly, the temperature would have been too much for his Imperial Flame Body to handle. But now that it was contained, he could safely grasp it. With his palm on the prison, Xiao Yan's gaze grew more intense. Then, he placed the flame prison into his Imperial Flame Body's mouth like a pill. The Imperial Flame Body became Xiao Yan's second body.